Hey guys, just a couple quick notes before we start today's episode. Trigger warning, we have a lot of sensitive discussion about race, disability, SA. It's kind of an intense episode, so just a little warning at the top. And then for something positive and exciting, if you didn't already hear on social media or this week's Shark episode, it's my birthday this week. I turned, what did I turn? 37. I turned 37 on Wednesday, July 17th. If you have not left a rating or review on Apple, or you have not left a rating on Spotify, or it's been a while since you did so, you can do it again and it'll go to the top. All I would ask for my birthday, so much, it would be so much appreciated. I don't know how to talk. But if you guys could leave a rating and review, that would help the podcast so much and make me so happy. And y'all's kind words really do keep me going on cold, lonely nights when I'm questioning why I do this. So love you. Thanks for listening. Bye. The class asks him about love and relationships, and he said, I want that more than anything, but that doesn't happen for people with disabilities like mine. And Anna reports that at that point, she wanted to say, you can have that with me. And she realized that she was in love with him. And then she told him, I do what I do for you because I love you.
That is so fucked up. It's fucked up, so fucked up. It is just so damn fucked up. That's fucked up.
Hit it. It takes two to make things go right. Woo! It takes two to make it out of sight. Woo! Woo!
I want to rock right now.
Yeah.
I'm a bass and I came to get down.
Yeah, you do.
Have you ever seen the flow chart for like whether or not you're Rob bass? It's like, do you want to rock right now? And then it's yes, no. And if you put yes, it says, did you come to get down? Yes. Are you internationally known? No. And then it's like, you are Rob bass. You are not Rob bass.
Oh, I haven't seen that, but that's good. I like
Hilarious.
it. Hey guys, welcome back to this old thing.
I thought you were gonna be like, this is so
this here show where we do stuff, we talk, we're people. This is That's So Fucked Up, a podcast about things that make you say. That's so fucked up.
Yeah. I thought you were doing that part. I didn't know you were going to add to the
I didn't know either. It was
a spur of the moment.
What's that thing called? Improv.
The Holy Spirit caught you?
The Holy Spirit caught me. It did. You guys,
nailed it again.
If you don't know what she's talking about, please go listen to our recent series, That's So Fucked Up Presents. What was it called? What was it called, though? That's the real question. I don't know, and I need to know.
I don't remember. I'm looking it up on Patreon, where you can also find it, and lots of other episodes ad-free.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Unspoken Unity.
Unspoken Unity. Y'all, I'm not going to lie. Here's what happened with that. Our production assistant, Danita, she's amazing. Hi, Danita. Love you. She was like, are you trying to do the alphabet with That's So Fucked Up Presents? Because you have all these Colorado Carnage, Devious Dolls, etc.
90s nostalgia.
You know, there's a lot of alliteration. And you guys, I was like, well, I wasn't, but fucking now I am. So what the shit? It's super exciting. I'd say now that we have Unspoken Unity, and I'm justifying the name of that season, Unspoken Unity, because they're all very covert about their connections. They're like, oh, I don't know so-and-so. No, we're not connected, you know? So
yeah, now I get it.
That's why.
But I thought for a long time I missed something, and I was like, well, I can't ask her. She's going to be like, you didn't listen to me, bitch.
Oh my gosh,
and
I wouldn't. I'm so nice, you guys, most of the time. I think I'm pretty generally understanding when people don't know what's going on, because I'm like, I changed it last night in my sleep, and I've just told you now.
98.4%.
Well, it was going to be called the 7M scandal, which would have, that would have hit a couple S's, bam, bam. But we already have. What do we have? We have the.
A bunch of snakes in here.
We have the Scissor Sisters.
We do not.
What?
The scissors.
What was it called? Sinister Sects.
Sinister Sex.
Sinister Sects, which was also great. But I was like, okay, well, if we're doing the alphabet, I can't be doing another S. That's some bullshit. So I'm not going to lie, me and ChatGPT, we worked together. I was like, what would some interesting names be that had to do with cults and coercion? And I'm not going to lie, credit goes to ChatGPT for coming up with a list, including that. Credit goes to me for choosing one of those that ChatGPT made and saying, yeah.
Credit goes to me for a decision, which some days decisions are hard. I give you all the credit.
Thank you. I would, because some days decisions are really hard. And I said, you know what? I like that. High five, ChatGPT.
And speaking of you making decisions, who are you?
Who am I? They're like, Ashley, I thought you got on ADHD medication. And I did, but it's late.
But it does wear off eventually during the day.
And it's late for both of us.
Yeah.
And they all know by now that late means 6/8. So I'm Ashley Love Richards.
And I'm Fallon Worry.
We're your hosts. I was like, what? Who? Why? Today we're back with, that show that we introduced. And today we have a topic.
What are we talking about? It's killing me.
I was just going to tell you. I said that we had a topic. You're like, yeah, I know.
I was going to be like, do I have to listen to all the facts first and then try to guess?
I'll know that there is a topic at hand. Okay. This is a fun one, you guys, because I'm surprising Fallon, because I had a couple of people on social media reach out and ask if I watched this documentary. And I was like, no. And they said, well, you should, because I want to hear your take. And then I did. And I was like, people need to hear my take. Have you watched? And the great thing, it sometimes bothers me, but sometimes it's good, because I'm guessing the answer is no.
I was about to say, what do you think the answer to this question is going to be?
Have you watched Tell Them You Love Me?
No.
Of course you haven't. Great.
I like how you were like, the great thing. Well, sometimes it really bothers me. The great thing.
Well, sometimes I'm like, fuck, I want to hear your opinion and discuss.
I'll just watch it if you tell me. There's just so many things. Anyway, Tell Them You Love Me.
Yeah. Just let the name sink in a little bit, right? Gives you, Fallon's face gave immediately a little bit of ew. I don't like the sound of that. Yeah.
Mm-mm. I have no idea what that could even be about.
Right. It's a really great documentary. It looks deeply into the issues of race, disability, power dynamics, and ethical questions surrounding a type of communication called facilitated communication that we will talk about. So Tell Them You Love Me is a documentary on Netflix. Yeah, so I watched it earlier this week. And then all week I was mulling over what we were going to talk about today. And I had literally at least half of a dozen scripts, 80% ready to go. And I just wasn't fucking feeling sinking my teeth into any of them. And I watched this documentary. And then today I was like, you know what? We're going to do that fucking documentary. So I rewatched it and we're going to talk about it because it is crazy. Our subjects are Anna Stubblefield, who is a 41-year-old Rutgers University professor specializing in ethics and philosophy, and Derrick Johnson, a 30-year-old nonverbal man with cerebral palsy living in New Jersey.
Okay.
First, let me tell you what facilitated communication is. It's a very controversial communication technique that is used to help people with severe communication impairments such as autism or cerebral palsy to communicate using a special typewriter. Well, it's a keyboard. A special typewriter. I was like, what is it called?
Special typewriter. I hear that typewriters have power and screens on them now. What are they calling those?
They can carry them around. It's wild. So facilitated communication involves a facilitator who physically supports an individual's hand or arm so that they can type on a keyboard, because often these people who are nonverbal also will not have a lot of control over their body motions. So having their elbow or their arm supported can help them to better communicate.
Oh, that makes sense.
While it does make sense, it's a very controversial method, and we will find out why. So let's first talk about Derrick Johnson. Derrick, when he was born, it was pretty clear quite early on that something wasn't normal. He didn't move or talk very much. So he eventually had a series of seizures, and the doctors diagnosed him at a very, very young age with cerebral palsy and said that he would never be able to function like a normal child. They also, at the time, diagnosed him with what they called severe mental retardation, which today is known as intellectual disabilities and nonverbal. Just to clarify for anybody who might not know what that is referred to as today. So Derrick and his older brother John were inseparable. You see pictures and videos of them in this documentary, and they're adorable. Derrick's mom, Daisy, said that anywhere John went, so did Derrick. And John was very protective of Derrick, and they just really had this beautiful relationship. They describe Derrick as very loving and happy. They said that he loves to smile and give people hugs, and especially at church when he's really feeling the music, he would do what they called his Stevie Wonder dance, because you know how Stevie Wonder bobs his head around.
Yeah.
So Derrick loves music, and he would get super into music at church. And he also would be self-abusive sometimes because he can't really communicate. And I cannot imagine, no matter what kind of intellectual ability you're functioning at, how fucking frustrating. I mean, imagine a really smart dog who's like, woof, woof, bitch, why don't you? I'm sure dogs are I don't know.
I know my own child had a lot of speech delays. And so the reason we ever got him tested for anything beyond that was because when he wasn't as good at speaking, he got explosively frustrated because he could not communicate what he wanted to say. And even if he did, we could not understand him because they weren't real words. So I sort of experienced that a little with my own child. And it's really frustrating for people who can't communicate at all. And he was only 4.
Yeah, I cannot imagine. Because I'm frustrated as just a person with
hearing it. Yeah, or seeing it.
Just even when I feel misunderstood by people. When I'm like, man, I feel like I tried really hard to let that person know how I was feeling and what I wanted and needed. And I know that frustration of being like, fuck, and they still don't get it. So to live in a constant state of that, I can't imagine the frustration.
So hard.
So, Derrick, and I think that can be pretty common for people to get self-abusive when those frustrations with inability to communicate arises. So John, Derrick's older brother, was getting his PhD at Rutgers and was taking a class with Anna-Stubblefield. He said that he thought that Anna was an amazing instructor and scholar, and Anna was also a philosopher of race and had a class about disability studies that John was taking. So they watched a video one day where FC, facilitated communication, was introduced. And in this video, they showed a woman named Sue Rubin, who had been seen as severely intellectually impaired, but once she was given a way to communicate, turned out that she was actually very intelligent and could do college level work, and ended up graduating with a dual major.
Wow.
I didn't look into the validity of Sue Rubin's case. It could very well be that that's absolutely the case with her. There are absolutely cases of people who are seen as, having nothing going on upstairs because they don't make eye contact or they don't have control over their movements, or there are so many factors that make people who don't understand disabilities think that, oh, there must not be really anything going on upstairs with that person. And for so many people, there actually is. and they don't have a way to communicate that. So with Sue Rubin, she absolutely, that could totally be the case. I don't want to discredit her story because we are going to question the validity of that method.
I actually followed a couple of content creators on Instagram, and there is at least one that was, on the autism spectrum that types out messages, not facilitated communication, but other methods, just regular computer, or makes posts. You can do the post where it will like read the words that you put on there. That'll like narrate that. And those people say like, I'm not stupid just because I can't talk. Like, it doesn't mean I don't think just because I don't talk. So you have to kind of remember that, like you said.
Yeah. It's so interesting too, though, that you said that, because like, yes, it is something that somebody with those issues would very likely say. It's also something that somebody who heard somebody else say that would get that ingrained into their mind. The thing with facilitated communication we'll see is that it's kind of like a Ouija board, in that it's thought that it's very often the facilitator's subconscious coming through. It's not a ghost. It's not the actual person.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Interesting.
So now we know all of that. And facilitated communication, which I'm going to call FC for short because that's long, is going to play a very, very big role in this story. Trigger warning for essay of a disabled person.
Ugh.
I mean, allegedly. I would say that everyone except Anna-Stubblefield believes that this was essay of a disabled person. I and John and Daisy and experts all believe that Anna truly believes that she had this relationship. But so yeah, it's a lot, you guys. So just trigger warning for that. Here we go. So John and Daisy, they always thought that there was something more going on with Derrick. So John was really excited when he heard about FC. So he talks to Anna about it, and she begins working with Derrick using FC. And this is because John had expressed his interest, and Anna said that likely the closest place that would be able to work with Derrick in that capacity was Syracuse University. And not only was that far, but it would be really expensive. So even though, and this is important, kind of, Anna was not like a specialist in FC. She just knew about it because her mom was very big in the like disability academia community, which we'll get into. So A, it's most likely a junk science. B, she wasn't even an expert in said junk science. But, we do hear from, I don't know. I'm going to just tell you, and I'm going to let you have thoughts. So Anna starts working with Derrick, and Daisy and John had big hopes from, quote, Miss Anna. She was going to move mountains. And that's what Daisy said. And I wanted to bring that up because there are a lot of things that are said that just like imply that, and like not in a negative way, but just saying that it's there. There is like a racial, I don't know what to call it. It's not like a bias against Anna. There's just like very much awareness that Anna is white and comes from the field of academia and is viewed and possibly views herself as high society because of that, and there are times where John or Daisy mention that.
I'm guessing John or Daisy are not white.
John and Daisy and Derrick are black. And
okay.
Yeah. So, a big part of this case, as I mentioned earlier, is race and power dynamics and the disability.
I got you.
I found it a little bit telling that Daisy called Anna Miss Anna because, especially in the South, Black people tend to use a more kind of like friendly format with titles. So like Miss Anna is like, I've never heard a white person refer to another white person who wasn't like a teacher as like Miss Fallon or whatever.
Right.
You know?
But people, since I live kind of in the South, people definitely use it, but it's always a power dynamic. Like you're a kid talking to an adult, you call them Miss whoever.
Exactly. And that's why I felt like it was it felt fucked up to me that she was like calling her that, because it did feel like some sort of power dynamic thing, because Daisy was calling Anna Miss Anna, and Anna's white and she fucking is an academic who, as we'll see, definitely thinks she knows better. And this is very offensive to their family because, you know, Derrick's very proud of the fact that he's a Black scholar getting a PhD at Rutgers, and Daisy has been a very informed advocate in the disability community for a long time. So when Anna kind of comes in and is like, oh, I know what the fuck is up, it goes from having some high hopes that this woman is going to bring a really positive change into their life into who the fuck is this woman coming in with this attitude? Just a feeling of she definitely thinks she's better than us. Did she? I don't know. But they certainly, my impression from the documentary and what they said was that they got the impression that she thought she was better. So that's why it's said, you know, in the description of the documentary and in the documentary that it's such a fascinating and important case because it looks at so many different things. Disability, race, sex, power dynamics. Yeah. Very, very complex, really, really crazy. So they start working together quite often, Derrick and Anna. And Anna is well liked and respected by colleagues and students. And her mom, Sandra Stubblefield, worked with people with disabilities for Anna's whole life. And Anna found it really interesting, and she was fascinated in learning sign language and Braille. And honestly, I thought this was kind of fucking weird. She said that like she would wear a blindfold all day to see what it was like to be blind, or she would have her dad build her crutches so she could see what it was like to have cerebral palsy. And I was like, so
sounds kind of like a weird disability fetish.
Yes,
almost.
I was like, so you're like cosplaying being but it's, bro, you got to hear this woman speak, because in her mind, she very much just sees herself as this like insanely empathetic person who really cares about understanding these people's experience. And then I also find it interesting that, you know, she is, when she starts working with the Johnson family, she is married unhappily with 2 children. She's married to a Black man. And not that this is so hard, y'all. This is, I should have known, like, this is going to be a hard one to talk about. Not that this woman can't be just attracted to Black men, or that she could be attracted to someone despite their disability. I don't, you know, it's very easy to make it sound like that. But I just find it interesting that she is somebody who was raised, it seems, at least middle to high class, and is white and in academia. And also this is... I mean, it's not like it was that long ago. It was like 2009, but it's 2014, and like a lot has changed, and not even that much has changed. You know what I'm saying? But
you mean it's 2024?
Fuck. It's 2014, and what else did I say? I said something January.
I'm gonna go party like I'm 32.
You guys, it's January 2014. What is up? I don't know. So anyways, it's just interesting that she, you know, she marries a Black man, and then she develops a relationship with a Black man with intellectual disabilities, and the family of Derrick have a view of her that she is, I don't know, arrogant or thinks she's like better.
She may be married to a Black man, but it doesn't mean that she doesn't still, for everyone else, carry some superiority, like issues with her in general.
And her future ex-husband has some pretty choice words for Anna that might back that up. So just, you know, really painting the scene here, which it's like, man, the documentary definitely paints it how it is, but having to retell it, it's like, ooh, they did it's hard to tell without just making it look real bad right away. But yeah. So they start working together, or going back to, Anna and in the academic community and everything. She grew up with this mom who was very into disability academia, and she said that her mom had a shirt that said labels are for jars, not people. And I think that Anna truly cared and believed in what she was doing despite what happened. But her mom learned about facilitated communication in 1990 at a conference and thought, you know what, this is absolutely groundbreaking. All of the people that I've worked with in the past who are nonverbal, this is 1,000% what they needed. They all could have communicated. Her jumped on the bandwagon and hard, was immediately was like, oh my God, obviously this is the fucking
right.
Whatever. I want to say again, Anna's not even a fucking specialist in FC. Her mom's just
she's been around it long enough.
Yeah. So we meet Anna in the documentary. She says that when she met Derrick in March 2009, all she was told was that Derrick had cerebral palsy. And that's just what she says. I don't know if she's trying to make a point that she is saying, I only knew that he had a physical disability. She says that's all she was told. So Anna asks Derrick to point at pictures in responses to questions to see, just to start comprehending where his level was at. And she said that you could see that he was working really, really hard to have just the slightest bit of control over his arm. So she said that she started with a little support of his elbow, and that allowed him to select the right pictures. And me and my boyfriend were watching the documentary, and immediately he's like, why couldn't they just put a fucking pillow or literally anything under somebody's arm to support it? That's not another person.
That's not somebody with, even if it's unintentional, guiding of the...
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
So she says that once she supports his elbow, he can select the right pictures. Then she wants to test his literacy. So she puts down 4 letters that could spell, bat, cat, rat, whatever. And she said, and he was able to spell a multitude of words with the 4 letters that he could. So I'm guessing that was 3 words or something. And she then had her FC keyboard. So she brought it out and she kept all of his fingers folded down. So just his index finger would be isolated. So she's holding all of his fingers down and holding his elbow. That feels like a lot of assistance.
It's a lot of assistance.
She says, type this letter, and he kept mixing up the letters. And then she realized it was because of a capitalization issue. So then she said that she corrected him, and he was a really fast learner and got it right after that. So she's feeling super confident that Derrick has way more going on upstairs than they had thought, and she can help him communicate. And Daisy and John are understandably elated. They're really excited. They're yeah, we've always, obviously he's a fucking human. They see that he has things going on in his mind.
Right.
I mean, regardless of what comprehension level they're happening at, things are happening.
It's not just the people that can't communicate. The people around them that love them are also frustrated because you don't think that mom wants to hear her son's voice,
right?
Returning her comments or talking or responding to her when she says, I love you. Of course she wants that. Of course she
wants him to be able to say, even want
Hi,
sandwich, Mom. But all he can do
right.
is go towards the refrigerator and point and make noises. His communication is
right.
limited to infantile noises and pointing in the general vicinity of things,
Right.
So of course they're excited. So in the fall of 2009, what's this lady's fucking name? Anna. She asks this
fucking lady.
I don't know. I think it's kind of mean to say you feel sorry for people, but I feel sorry for her because she's definitely very delusional. She did something very terrible, but I think she's out of her fucking mind. So she asks him if he did anything over the weekend. And she's like, oh, he was really creative with his spelling at first. So he typed GM and she's like, GM, what could that mean? Oh, did you go to the gym? And Daisy says they do some exercise in his day program that he goes to,
Okay.
So then Anna asks him, what do you like to be called? And he typed D-M-A-N. And Daisy says that Derrick had this really awesome teacher that he loved who called him D-Man. And he loved that teacher because he had helped him get out of his wheelchair and walking. So it made sense to everybody that he would say that he'd like to be called D-Man. But this is so fucking telling as fuck. Anna never calls D-Man, Derrick, D-Man. She calls him D-Man. So if you've never had the fucking ability to be called what you want to be called, you tell somebody what you want to be called, and then they call you some fucking janky ass version, like you fucking white bitch. Are you kidding me? No, it's D-Man, you know?
Yeah, it's not that hard.
I feel like that's super telling because in Anna's mind, they have disagreements, they have deep conversations, and at one point, he gets very upset at her and asserts, like, don't do that shit. So I'm thinking if Derrick has the ability at the point later down the road to say, don't speak for me, I think Derrick would say, stop calling me D-Man, it's D-Man. That would bother the fuck out of anybody. What if I called you Fallon? Hey, Fallon. That's what you'd like being called, right, Fallon?
No, I had that experience when I was in the military. Like, I would correct certain people, like, over and over how to say my last name, and they would still pronounce it wrong every time. And finally, at like a meeting, after being annoyed as fuck because everybody else, all the other guys were getting their names pronounced correctly. And finally, at a meeting, I had to be like, my last name is Steffler. I've told you for 2 years. It's not that hard.
Yeah, at some point, you're going to say, go fuck yourself, kindly.
I had to say, like, at this point, I have to think that you're doing it on purpose so that you can prove this point that you're superior, or you could just pronounce my name
Did they also all have cool names, too?
No. And then after that, magically, everyone said my name correctly. But like, yes, it's totally a power, like, I'm better than you thing.
I don't even think it's I'm better than you. I literally think she's so white that she doesn't get it. Like, what's up, D-Man? Because he wrote D-M-A-N, no apostrophe or dash or anything.
Right.
I literally think she's so fucking like academic white that she doesn't get that D-Man is a fucking nickname for Derrick. Because she calls him Demand, like D-A-M-M-O-N. Are you fucking kidding me, bitch? I would, if we were like in a relationship of any sort, especially if you were my romantic partner and you were butchering the nickname that I told you I wanted to be called, you bet your fucking ass you would hear about it pretty quick as soon as I had the ability to let you know that you're fucking it up. So I just think that her calling him Demand the whole fucking time was like such a red flag. That says everything. Anna, you're saying it all right there. So she says that by the end of the year, you know, they're having like actual conversations, and they show in the documentary stuff that was said on the keyboard. It's called a Neo, and it, you know, a memory. It's a computer with like a memory thing. So, you know, it logs things. It's technology and it's late. Okay, you guys. One of the things that Derrick said, that's in heavy quotes, was, please understand that I know you are proud of me, but I prefer not being looked at like a much improved model. That just doesn't sound like Derrick's words to me. That sounds like Anna.
Yeah, a much improved model.
Please understand that I don't enjoy being looked at as a much improved model. Like, not because I'm not implying that Derrick's stupid. It just fucking, that sounds like somebody who's in academia, how they speak. I prefer not to be looked at as a much improved model.
Right, but people's words get shaped their whole lives by like using those words from things they've read, from things that they have seen, and from the slang from actual conversations they have had over time. So it's hard for me to believe, even if he's intelligent, a man who has not interacted conversationally with people or read a whole bunch of books with that type of language would know to call a better version of something a much improved model.
Exactly. And Anna tells Derrick's family that they're like, well, how does he know anything? He hasn't gotten a formal education. He's 30. And it's not like he's been through fucking regular grade school, you know?
Right.
And she's like, oh, well, he's built his body of knowledge by absorbing movies and conversations around him and stuff like that. That's not how the Johnson family talks. They're very fucking
Right.
intelligent, but that's just not.
Nobody talks like that.
I
even
don't-
if they're intelligent.
I'm like, well, I don't, but I'm on.
I consider myself fairly intelligent.
I'd say
and
you're
I would
pretty academic.
And I would never be like, Ashley, check out my haircut. I am a much improved model of myself now. Who says that?
Anna. I feel like Anna says that to try to convince herself that she's actually having a real conversation with this person. So Derrick apparently... I can't.
I feel like I know where this is going, and it's making my stomach churn a little bit.
It's like building, and yeah, you should be churning. He apparently really wanted to take an African American literature course at Rutgers, and John was excited to have another Black scholar in the family. You know, he said, like, I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was pretty cool that I was getting a PhD, and here's my baby brother. Pretty fucking dope, you know? The one kind of thing that makes it a little bit, oh, well, was he the one talking, you know, is that he had a student meet him outside of class to help him with homework and assignments. Anna would go with him to class, but then this other girl would meet him outside of class. And she said that she helped Derrick and that she didn't actually know the material. So that's kind of like the one place where it's like, well, that seems odd that he would have this other person doing the facilitated communication who apparently hadn't read the books and didn't know the material, but was still able to get Derrick to type out things that made sense.
So that's like the one spot where you think, okay, maybe it wasn't just all Anna.
Yeah.
Does it ever appear like it could have been a combination? Like, do you think it's like all her, or do you think that his words are in there somewhere, but she's just adding to them?
That's kind of like what I want to think, because you do want to believe that this person has the ability to communicate and that this person did see something in them. And obviously you want that to be the story, right? But I don't know. I just feel like she had such a strong belief that she was literally on a fucking Ouija board talking to a spirit, you know?
Right.
But like, hey, guess what? The spirit is you.
Right.
So Sharonda Jones met him outside of class, and she would email Anna and give little updates about what happened. In one, she says, "Hi, Anna, you'll find that I have attached D-Man's paper to email. I think that we accomplished a significant amount today. He was able to type around 315 words. He finished all of his reading. I believe that he is now ahead of everyone else with his readings." An assignment, it shows what Derrick apparently wrote, which is, "The girl in the book is not allowed to leave because she is a slave. I believe that I am facing the same thing with my body. I'm confined in my life. I live in a body that is not able to move the way that I would like. I live in it because it was what I was given." So that's apparently something that Derrick wrote, I believe.
Without Anna,
through Sharonda. So Anna is in class with Derrick one day, and she says that he was typing, but, you know, she felt that he wasn't articulating himself as well as he could.
Oh, here we go.
What he said, just to imagine that most of the things I'm saying in this episode have air quotes, okay, guys, was, "I got lots of new ideas, like looking like people are bringing civ instead of war." And Anna said to him, "Is it better to say the myth that people are bringing civ instead of war?" And he responds, "I just want you to read what I type." And then she said that she couldn't really help herself. So when she raised her hand to answer for him, as she was answering the question out loud, as she was going, she was kind of editing what he had said because, you know, she thought that he hadn't said it eloquently as he could. So he then apparently wrote on the Neo, "I put how I want. Never ever again."
Ooh.
So the most likely thing here is that she's having an imaginary exchange with herself. The slightly possible thing is that Derrick does communicate at a higher level than they thought, but based on more that we find out, I just don't think that's the case. So I think she's really having these kinds of conversations in her head to like validate that, no, he has disagreements with me. Like, you know, that's what people do.
Right. If every conversation with her that was recorded is agreeing and super friendly, it looks more like she's doing it. But if there's a disagreement in there, then would I disagree with myself?
No, that's what humans do, who are sharing ideas and thoughts. They agree, they disagree. So in March 2011, Derrick speaks to a class about disability with Anna. The class asks him about love and relationships, and he said, "I want that more than anything, but that doesn't happen for people with disabilities like mine." And Anna reports that at that point, she wanted to say, "You can have that with me." And she realized that she was in love with him. And then she told him, "I do what I do for you because I love you," which also feels like a fucking power dynamic thing. This whole like facilitated communication thing that I put all of my time and effort into doing for you.
Yeah, it's because I love you.
Because I love you. That feels like some fucking weird love bombing shit. It also feels just like very manipulative.
Also very manipulative of somebody who, if they are communicating at a higher level, has just expressed that they think that that's out of the realm for them and they're not used to having life experiences like that.
Right.
It's gross on so many levels.
Like, as I read that, actually, that like triggered me because I'm like imagining if somebody said, "I do this or that for you because I love you." I can see my fucking trigger going off and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Should I fucking like suck your goddamn dick and write a choir song about you right now? Should I just be so grateful that..." Also, I have trauma, so that's a little bit of trauma speaking, but it gives that vibe, you know?
The thing that's icky about that for me is that when somebody says, "I do X for you because I love you," there is an implied expectation of something on the other side. And usually what it is like obedience to whatever I've set up for you. I do this because I love you. Therefore, I want you to shut up and do things the way I expect you to do them, is usually the other side of that transaction, which gross.
Yeah.
I'm making my gross face now.
Yeah, we're both gonna need Botox after this one.
Y'all, Ash sent me a still shot the last time we recorded of my own face looking angry. And my only response to her was just rude.
Angry Fallon. Because we had been talking about Angry Fallon. And then I saw that picture. It made me laugh.
Oh my God.
So apparently he responds with, "I know, I love you too," and then asks her to kiss him. So she does, and then he asks her to kiss him again, reported by her, so she reportedly did, and she's all giddy in her mind about thinking back to this wonderful romantic experience. And John and Daisy talk about a few instances that rose a red flag for them. They were driving to an event one time and Daisy was playing gospel and Anna turned it off and put classical on instead and said, "Derrick doesn't want to hear that."
But that's like what he had loved to hear before, the gospel music.
So John says the fact that Derrick would want to listen to high-class music instead of low-class gospel was way too much of a leap. And I just thought, again, that was kind of telling because I don't think Anna said gospel is low class. That's just something they assumed by her saying he doesn't want to hear that. I'm going to put classical on instead.
Right.
I'm not saying that their feelings aren't totally valid, but there is obviously a feeling from them that Anna thinks that she's superior. There was another time where Daisy was cutting up his chicken and Anna comes over and says, "Why are you giving him meat? He's a vegetarian." And Daisy was like, "Nobody gave me the fucking memo." Yeah. And then another time, John says, "Man, I can't wait to get home so we can relax and kick back and have a beer." And then Derrick apparently types on the keyboard, "I don't like beer. I like red wine." And John said he didn't even like communion wine, which I thought, well, to be fair, communion wine's probably pretty fucking gross. But still. But still. Yeah. It's like, so all of a sudden he's a vegetarian.
With wine preferences.
Right. You know, and it is important to say, I think, because they mention in the documentary that, well, Anna says this. So, you know, but I think it is a valid point that often caretakers, when they're in a caretaker role, it can be harder for them to see someone with more like nuanced needs. Maybe they don't just like beer and football because that's what the family likes. Maybe they actually do like classical, so
Yeah.
I can definitely see where caretakers would get into just like a protective mode and I know what works for my child or, whatever. And I could see why it would be important in the disability space for caregivers to question whether or not they are fully kind of trying to understand what that individual's needs are as a fucking person who has their own likes and dislikes. But it just kind of sounds like maybe those are Anna's likes and dislikes. I don't know if Anna was a vegetarian, but I think it sounds like maybe she was,
Yeah.
So they're kind of like, who the fuck are you coming in here? Just,
telling us who he is.
Exactly. Telling us who our fucking family member is. So he did a panel, like some sort of academic panel with Anna. And John said that Derrick was, he believed, kind of a token in the FC space. Like he said, it was a very white space. Derrick was the only Black person in the community. And I think that he maybe saw her as kind of exploiting him.
Right.
He says in his speech or whatever, a few lines are, the hopeful joy of communication, no punishment is worse than silence. You break out from the silence by giving voice to your intelligence. And John said, looking back on it, it always seemed like what most of Derrick focused on, like speaking about, was how much improved his life was because of the fact that he could communicate, which would kind of be a big pat on the back to Anna subconsciously.
Right. You would get past the good things you can do after a while. Like you would want to communicate about regular life stuff. If the goal for facilitated communication is to live a more independent life, you would have to get past talking about it,
And this wasn't pointed out in the documentary, but I Googled it because I was like, shut the fuck up. So Anna tells the family, you guys are treating Derrick like a kid. He's a man. And apparently now Derrick wants to move into like an independent living situation where he can have full-time care and Anna's going to set it all up and blah, blah, blah. She's like separating them.
I'm going to isolate this guy away from his family.
So Derrick apparently wrote, Mom still treats me like a kid. I know I will need support my whole life, but I do not feel like a burden. I would be living on my own, going to college, being a writer. I am intelligent. I need to have Mom let me leave home. I need to hire my own staff. Into college. Plum pissed off.
Plum pissed off? That's very Southern.
Bitch, yes. So it's like, oh, she was plum mad.
Yeah.
Is that like formal or informal?
Informal.
Oh.
Well, it's not necessarily formal or informal. It's old slang. It's not like what people are saying at the age of 30 today.
Right. I just thought plum pissed off was like a very interesting choice of wording.
I mean, yes. If he supposedly learned from TV and the people around him, he didn't learn plum pissed off.
Keep in mind, at this time, Derrick's around 32, probably. Anna is about 43. So who's more likely to have heard that fucking phrase? And, considering like what their circles were like growing up around Anna, growing up in like a...
Yeah.
We get it. All right, guys, here's probably where things get pretty upsetting. So one day while the family was at church, they practiced kissing. Apparently, Derrick typed, I love being with you and want to do this, but I'm overwhelmed and need a minute. And this was after he kept tensing up and seeming uncomfortable. So she said, yeah, we'll take things slow, blah, blah, blah. And then she recounts that he comes back and types, may I touch your breast? Take off your shirt, take off your clothes, etc. And she's kind of like giggling because she was surprised at how assertive he was.
Oh my God. No. Oh.
Here's what I really think. I think she was super unhappy in her marriage, and everything that she wanted her husband to be, she fucking projected it onto this other man. She wanted her own husband to be more assertive. So guess what? Derrick was assertive.
I mean, you can't essentially program your own husband to say the things you want them to say. But if you're with a man and you're controlling the finger they're typing with, you certainly can.
And she says later, just kind of casually, I think that he deserves credit for seducing me.
Oh. Ugh. Oh, God.
He apparently asks her if it would be possible to make love. So she makes this happen one day she apparently makes this happen on 2 occasions, and we'll get to that. The family all meet to talk about this potential living independently situation, and Anna and Derrick reveal their change in relationship status. Apparently, they had gone back and forth about it much, and Derrick insisted that they reveal it. So Derrick types out, "We are in love and we have a physical relationship." Daisy said that she sat on her hands and said, "You what?" And wow. Anna confirmed, saying that they've made love and he's a man in every sense of the word.
Oh my God, I would have punched her.
Later, Daisy, she's talking about when they're in court and they ask her, "Oh, how do you feel about Anna being your son's lover?" And she's tearful. And she was like, "That fucking whore raped my son. That is not his lover, okay?"
Yeah, let's please.
So she said she's sitting on her hands. John said he went down the hall just to rage pace because they were obviously livid,
I'm sure.
But I think Daisy had the wherewithal to keep calm so they could figure out exactly what the fuck was going on and actually do something about it, because apparently she hugged her and said, "We'll figure this out." Then I guess, remember, Anna's married with 2 kids. So John calls the next morning and says, "Well, we don't want you seeing Derrick until you figure out what's going on with your husband." Because she says that she hasn't told him anything yet, but she's planning on it. And she's definitely going to leave him to be with Derrick. This bitch is so fucking delusional that she thinks his family's going to be like, "All right, cool. So just divorce. Yeah, before you even divorce your husband, why don't you get together with my fucking kid / brother? And yeah, your 2 fucking kids." It's
wow.
So then they stop letting Anna see Derrick. Anna's calling the house a bunch, saying, "I'm going to leave my husband. I'll put it in writing in blood." And I get that it's a phrase, but it's just still weird,
It's weird.
So Anna reaches out to, I don't know who this Nicole Ballard person is, but it's fucking behind John and Daisy's back, and says, "Derrick's family is unsure about whether they want to continue to have him work with me. It has more to do with issues with the family and who gets to make decisions about Derrick and so on. You know how that goes. It's not really about what's in his best interest. I'm wondering if you'd be okay with me just quietly seeing him one more time, just for an afternoon like we used to do." That just sounds like
Ew.
fucking creep language. Just one more time, just like we used to. Jesus.
Yeah, a little weird and stalkery. It's definitely the family. It's not the fact that
in her mind, they are star-crossed lovers, Romeo and Juliet. So John starts questioning FC on an academic level. He's like, it's really weird because Anna could always get Derrick to write stuff, but me and my mom never could. Daisy and John, whenever they supported Derrick's elbow or hand or whatever, they just, it's crazy. They wouldn't get these fucking magnificent sentences. They wouldn't get anything, really. And Anna's like, "Oh, well, you just have to keep practicing and trying and anticipating what he's gonna say."
Oh.
Bingo, ding, ding. That's it right there.
Right there. You have to anticipate what he's gonna say, meaning you in your mind are channeling what you want that person to say.
Ouija board, you guys. So John found a Frontline documentary that said FC was bullshit. Basically, we meet a expert named Howard Shane, who was an FC specialist. He devised a double blind test where he would show the person and the facilitator either the same picture or a different picture to see what would come up. And on this Frontline special, when the facilitator and the person saw dog, they both typed dog. But when the person saw cup, weirdly, they typed hat. You know why? The facilitator got a picture of a hat. It was the fucking
Right.
facilitator writing what they saw. So he gets called. They want him to observe the situation and get his expert opinion. Because at this point, John has gone and told the dean of Rutgers, hey, this is happening. So Anna gets fired. He also is told by the dean that you need to get a lawyer. This is a big deal. So Daisy calls Anna one day, and at this point, the phones are wiretapped, and says, Anna makes up a story about the fact that Derrick is being really self-abusive now that Anna is not coming around anymore. And she's like, I really need you to explain to me what you guys did together. And she says that, yes, they were intimate. It was on 2 separate Sundays. And she said, well, how did you make that work? And she said, well, I had space on the floor in my office. So I brought in an exercise mat and a beach towel, and we made it work.
So she premeditated it to do it. It wasn't based on what he was at the moment typing to her.
Well, he had apparently asked at some point, would it be possible with my condition to make love? And she said, well, there's only one way to find out. So John later in the documentary tearfully recalls changing because he had to have his fucking diapers changed. He was changing Derrick's diapers at one point and found all these scrapes on his back. And him and Daisy couldn't figure out where he had gotten these abrasions on his back. And during that call, they realized that that was from her because he's 5'2", 5'3", not heavy. And she's a full-grown woman, and there was a beach towel and an exercise mat on the floor. So you put that together. And Anna is not only fired, but she is investigated. They get a search warrant to go search her house. And this is how her family fucking finds out that she's been having an affair with a disabled student.
Oh my God.
I mean, her poor husband, but her poor kids too. Just man, just... ugh, that's fucking gnarly. I mentioned Howard Shane, the expert. He was asked to spend a few hours with the family, and he said that Daisy was a very good observer and reporter of what was actually going on with Derrick. And he said that he found that all of Derrick's previous medical records were accurate in his findings, that Derrick had deficits in all areas of functioning and that his communication consisted of infantile sounds and pointing, and he found no indication that any previous medical records were incorrect. So he determined that Derrick did have severe intellectual disabilities.
Right.
So Anna and I think the girl who did some notes for him in class are the only ones who are no, you're wrong. There is more.
And the girl who did the notes from in class, she also, I'm sure, got coached by Anna to some degree of how to, premeditate his words or whatever, expect his words.
Yeah, and the thing with the facilitated communication is that they think that the facilitator is doing it subconsciously. They're not trying to be a bad person. They just believe that they're helping this person communicate.
Because they're doing it based on what, if it feels like the person's hand is going forward, they just sort of gently nudge it.
Right. Or it's oh, were you going to say coat? Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So during the court case, John says, Anna is not Sandra Bullock and this isn't The Blind Side, which I think just, again, was a huge indicator of class and race. You're not fucking coming in here and saving this poor man from his terrible fucking life.
Right. We had a good life with him. We love him as is.
With your fucking savior complex, And her husband said something along the lines of, Anna is a narcissist and pathological liar and will stop at nothing to fool the court, regardless of the emotional and financial expense of her family and all of the victims involved.
She sounds like a very sick woman.
Yeah, because I do believe that she's 1,000% delusional. I don't believe that. I know that. If you watch the documentary, there's no fucking shred of doubt that she sees this in a fully different fucking reality in which it happened.
Right.
She gets sentenced to 12 years and parole, but she ends up appealing it and getting it out after 2 years because apparently there was evidence regarding the facilitated communication that had not been allowed to be presented in the case. I think some of the stuff with Sharonda Jones, like some of the stuff where it may have implied or pointed towards the fact that maybe it did work, that evidence wasn't allowed in the case. So she got her shit overturned or whatever and only ended up spending 2 years in.
But she's not allowed to teach, I guess, anymore.
No, she said now that she just does like remote work because nobody can know who she is. And she said it's not teaching, which bums her out because that was like her passion. But thank God, you probably should not be around vulnerable people, Anna. So a couple of things. The American Speech Language Hearing Association called FC a discredited technique with extensive scientific evidence showing that messages are typically actually authored by the facilitator and not the person who's having their fucking hand and arm controlled. And the American Psychological Association, or APA, which we all know is like... who's even running that? Okay. They're not trustworthy is the thing, you guys. But they say that FC has a lack of scientific validity, has a huge risk of false communication, says that there's huge ethical concerns with this technique having the very possibility of undermining the autonomy of the individuals with disabilities.
Yes.
Like they went from not being able to communicate to now being like having fucking words shoved in their mouth. They're like, bro, this wasn't it either.
Well, being forced to communicate, right?
Yeah, like they're fucking sitting there typing all day and they don't even know why.
Like, I don't want to talk all day. If somebody was like, hey, you got to talk all day, anytime I want you to, I'd be like, no. Here, give me that keyboard. Fuck off.
Yeah. So Howard Shane said that FC is at best questionable and at worst deceptive, saying, again, that he agrees with the research that whatever is being said by the person is often more a reflection of what's happening in the mind of the facilitator. And that's probably why they named the documentary Tell Them You Love Me. Tell them, demand.
Right.
Demand, tell them how much you love me. Don't you? You do. You told me.
So I was just thinking about this, you know, like about other, not necessarily women in particular, but when you've heard stories about women teachers that have sexual relationships with very young students, and I won't say sexual relationships, let's say what it is, they sexually assault or abuse very young students. But then when they speak later, they are 100% delusional in their head that there were real feelings there. Like, no, we love each other. He wanted to do this. He is very mature for his age. Like
Mary Kay Letourneau?
In the same way. Right. Like in the same way that she is, like you said that she seems like she's exceptionally delusional. I feel like that is a common thing you see in those types of relationships when they happen. They're never like, you're right, I made a mistake and the kid was too young. They're always like, no, he's more mature than anyone. We love each other. We get each other.
Not to excuse it.
No.
No, I know you're not. Like, I'm just clarifying to the audience. Also, Mary Kay Letourneau was married when she started sexually assaulting Billy Flau, which just fucking shows, I'm a psycho. Let's call it what it is. I'm a psycho in an unhappy unmarriage, so I'm going to reflect my desires onto a severely intellectually disabled man, or in the case of Mary Kay Letourneau, an 11-year-old, because he's such a man.
Right.
But it does seem, though, that there is often in these cases some degree of delusion on the woman's part.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting.
They can self-convincing that.
Yeah, this 11-year-old
right
definitely has the mind of a fucking consenting man and is in love with me. He's 11, you fucking psycho.
That's just a few years older than my oldest kid. And so I sit there and I think, are you really telling me that my kid in 3 years would want to have a relationship with a 40-year-old teacher? Like, no fucking way. My kid's into Pokemon and, you know.
Yeah. It's called grooming and not the nice kind where you get your hair and nails
Ugh.
done.
God, that was
a
gross.
bummer. I know. You have some of our listeners to thank because a couple people were like, need to hear your take on this. And I watched it and I was like, I have a take to give. And honestly, it didn't feel as dark when I was watching it as when I was telling it. It felt like ickier coming out of my own mouth, I think. I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I wanted to say that's what she said. You just said that.
Well, you wanted to and you did. So good for you.
But like in a roundabout way. My hot take. That's my hot take.
Yeah, I have to say, like, the first time that I watched it, you know, when it was seeming like, oh, but he had this experience with this other student who did it with him. And like, you're really wanting to. The documentary does a good job of not making you feel gross the entire time, you know, where I guess I just
Right.
knew from the beginning that it was gross. So I just came out of the gates with it as it's gross.
But you also want to see that maybe there's something else there for this man, right? That maybe he could have the ability to
Yeah.
communicate with people. You want that for
Right.
him, I'm
And obviously,
sure.
like, so did his family so badly. And you can tell that they were obviously just and are still so hurt by this fucking experience.
Ugh, yeah.
And he said that it was hard to go from kind of like having this hope to thinking, okay, well, it looks like we were right along. And then he said that he feels guilt when he says, oh, well, the man can't do this or that because he still questions, like, well, fuck, can he? Like, you know?
Yeah. Now they're in a weird no man's land space.
Yeah. And like the mom said that she had to put him on medication because he tries to masturbate now, which he obviously cannot do because he doesn't have the physical control to do so. So my assumption is that he probably gets frustrated and then harms himself. So she was like, you know,
Right.
that was never a problem before, but he
now it's
fucking
an issue.
found out what sex is.
It might not even be a conscious thought because that can trigger like a dopamine release. And so there are people that do that with other mental disorders chronically because of that subconscious need for that dopamine hit. So it could just be like almost like an instinct now he has, like, ooh, body likes that neurotransmitter.
I feel like you're describing
you know.
me.
I don't
That's
know
what
about
she
your
said.
masturbation habits, and I prefer not to.
Hey. I think that's a great note to go out on because we could end it on a
Absolutely.
huge bummer, but let's not. Let's, hey, what's up, guys? DJ Diddle's in the house. Am I right? If y'all need a quick hit of dopamine after this fucking shit show, you know what's up. Fallon just told you. And now she's uncomfortable because she inadvertently gave you that tip. And I co-signed.
Should see how red my face is
Yeah,
on my
Fallon's
camera
like
right
the
now.
same color as her shirt. And I'm just keep going because I'm feeding off of it because I get high on other people's embarrassment.
Embarrassment.
That's my kink. All right, guys. Well,
Go get it.
that was real as fuck. Am I right, Fallon?
Oh yeah, real fucked up.
So we'll see you guys next time for God knows what, because we keep it fresh around here. We sure
we
do.
do.
Bye, guys. We love you so much. If you're still listening, that's crazy. What are you still doing here? Really? That's sweet. We love you.
Goodbye.
Bye. Bye. Have a great
now.
day. Bye. Bye-bye now. Bye. Bye. Bye-bye now.
Bum 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 bum. That's fucked up. I'm so fucked up. Can't you see? It's just really fucked. That's fucked up.